funny how the smallest moments, the ones you think will fade away in time, can end up being the ones you remember the most. I keep thinking about the last call I had with him, the one that changed everything, the one where I realized, deep down, that things were never going to be the same. I remember it like it was just yesterday. The phone rang, and I saw his name flash on the screen. For a moment, I felt a sense of comfort, like everything was okay again. He had been distant lately, caught up in his work and the pressures of life. But this call, it was supposed to be different. I thought maybe it was him reaching out, finally ready to reconnect, to fix things between us. When I answered, his voice sounded so familiar, but there was something off. It wasn't the warmth I was used to, the loving tone he used when he spoke to me. It was cold, detached. He started the conversation by asking how I was, but it felt more like a formality than genuine concern. My heart sank. I could hear the background noise, the rustling of papers, the tapping of keys on a keyboard, like he was somewhere else entirely, his mind miles away. And as much as I wanted to ignore it, I couldn't. The distance between us had become undeniable, and it hit me harder than I'd like to admit. The call went on, and we spoke about trivial things, nothing that mattered, nothing that made me feel like I was still important to him. We talked about dinner plans for the week, about a meeting he had at work. But underneath all those words, there was this silence, this heavy silence that was louder than anything either of us could say. Then, just before he said goodbye, he mentioned something that left me frozen. "I'll be home late tonight. I'll call you when I'm done." It wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. The way he didn't promise anything. The way he didn't seem eager to come home, to be with me. And in that moment, I knew. I didn't say it out loud, but I knew. That call was the last time I would hear his voice the way I had known it. That was the last time we would have a conversation like we used to. The last time I would hear him casually talk about his day, without that feeling of detachment in his words. I wasn't naive enough to ignore it anymore. I could feel the end of us coming, even if I didn't want to acknowledge it. We said our goodbyes, and I hung up the phone, and for the rest of that day I kept replaying the conversation in my mind. The call itself wasn't anything extraordinary. It was mundane, even. But it was everything to me. It was the moment I realized I had been living in a relationship that was fading, and I had just been too afraid to see it, too afraid to admit that he was already gone, even before I could say goodbye. Even before I could say goodbye, that night he came home late like he always did, and I pretended that everything was fine. But deep down, I knew I couldn't keep pretending anymore. I knew that the person I was married to wasn't the same person I had fallen in love with. He had changed. And with that call, I knew I couldn't wait around for him to come back to me. I had to let go. It wasn't just the end of the call. It was the end of everything we had built together. The end of the love we had shared, the promises we made, and the dreams we once had for our future. It was the last time I would speak to him as my husband, and somehow I knew it would never be the same again.